Germany's Christmas markets have become more heavily guarded than ever before. After a series of deadly attacks, concrete barriers, armed patrols, and vehicle blockades have become part of the festive landscape. So, why have these traditional celebrations become high-security events? And can Europe keep them safe without losing what makes them special? Hello and welcome to Roundtable. I'm Enda Brady. Now, they're known for their cosy atmosphere and festive look, but this year, Germany's Christmas markets are opening behind barriers. Security has been tightened after a series of deadly attacks, and the cost of protecting these events has surged by more than 40% in just 3 years.
Christmas carols, fairy lights, and time with loved ones. Germany's Christmas markets attract both locals and tourists, generating hundreds of millions of dollars for the economy. But this winter, they've opened up under increased security. Last year, a car attack killed 6 people and left more than 300 injured at Magdeburg Christmas Market in East Central Germany. This year, it's surrounded by concrete barriers, police patrols, and random back checks.
We're opening again for the first time since the attack. Many people have experienced immeasurable suffering. Many people will be scarred as well for a long time. On the other hand, there is also a certain feeling of defiance that we are going ahead with Christmas.
The attack wasn't the first time that German markets have been targeted. In Berlin in 2016, a truck deliberately drove into a market, killing 12 people. Across the country, authorities have increased protection around major public events, with vehicle ramming and lone actor assaults being seen as the biggest threats. Germany's Christmas markets are big tourist hotspots, attracting more than 170 million visitors a year.
Well, I have to say I feel safe, but I find it sad what's happening around us, that something like this has to be done at all. I've been going to our Christmas market since I was a child, and sometimes it's a bit of an oppressive feeling. But I think that once it's open and the music starts, you forget about it for a while, thankfully.
Christmas markets should be nice, they should be relaxed. You should just enjoy the Christmas season with friends and family and leave all the troubles behind.
But the rising security costs are falling on the vendors and raising concerns about their survival. Can this festive tradition continue with an increase in protection, or will it lose its magic?
Well, let's bring in our guests for this one. In Hamburg, in Germany, we have Oliver Kastens. Oliver is Managing Director of COCO, one of Europe's leading experts in crowd management and event safety. In Munich, we have Walther Michl, a Professor of Public Law at the University of the Bundeswehr. And in Paris, I'm delighted to say, we're joined by Elaine Cobb, a journalist and broadcaster. And here with me in the studio, we have the renowned travel journalist, Simon Calder. You're all very welcome to this roundtable. Oliver, I'll come to you first of all. What's the feeling like as we head towards Christmas in Germany? Are people feeling a little bit anxious about security at Christmas markets, or do they feel everything is being taken care of?
It depends who you ask. Yeah, we have two opinions in Germany. I think the one is, yeah, we're feeling safe at the Christmas market because of the measurements was taken from our government, and at the other hand, people are thinking, is it really necessary to build up such things around our Christmas markets?
Let's go to Walther. Just on that, Walther, Magdeburg last Christmas, an awful incident. It changed everything, didn't it? 1 minute that attack lasted, 6 people killed, 300 plus ending up in hospital. It was horrible. Do you think that really kind of sharpened the focus about security, Walther?
Yes, I think so, because this was during the election campaign. And of course, it was a huge deal ahead of the Bundestag elections last winter. And the sad thing was that the perpetrator used a gap in the security perimeter that was left open for deliveries and drove right through that. And that made people focus on possible security gaps and on closing the rest of existing gaps and making Christmas markets even more secure than they used to be.
Elaine, just talk to us about how people in France are feeling. Obviously, Christmas markets are a huge tourist draw across the whole of France, and you've had problems there as well in the past.
Absolutely. There was a deadly attack in 2018 in Strasbourg. And so this year, security is being stepped up at Christmas markets around the country. The Interior Minister last week asked police chiefs to step up the numbers of officers on duty and to maintain maximum vigilance in order to be prepared for any possible terror attack. He actually used the word terror attack. This is something that resonates around France, of course, for the last more than a decade. And people are used to levels of security. So knowing that they have to get in line in order to get into the Christmas markets, it's a little inconvenient, but people are kind of sanguine about it now.
Elaine, it's a sad state of affairs, isn't it, as we head towards, the festive season and the new year and people coming together and families shopping and tourists arriving into new cities, that this level of security is clearly needed.
Absolutely. 150 million people visit the Christmas markets every year, and it generates billions for the economy. And it's also part of the whole festive thing. And so many tourists come to France, to Paris, to Strasbourg, to Bordeaux, to gather for the Christmas season. And it does have something of an effect on those coming into the country, because they go, is it going to be safe? But it's not putting a damper really on what people are planning to do, because, as I said, the French are just a little more used to stepped up security now, and they're a little more wary. But, for example, in Bordeaux, they have lines to enter the Christmas market where it's all blocked around, so there are only certain entrances, and they have lockers there. And if you have forgotten a pocket knife in your pocket, or you've got cutlery for the office lunch, it's taken off you, put in a locker, and you pick it up when you go back. And there are still people who just walk around with pocket knives like it's normal, and then they suddenly go, oh gosh, yeah, so sorry, here you are, I'll get it on the way out.
Thanks, Elaine. Simon, it's on everyone's list, isn't it, to go to Germany some Christmas and experience the markets firsthand. They're absolutely stunning.
It certainly is. If you can carbon date the Christmas market, it really began across the border in Austria, in Vienna, at the very end of the 13th century. But it is absolutely now, I think, a German property, and it does wonders, of course, for the nation as a whole, both domestically, so many people enjoying markets all the way from Flensburg near the Danish border to the deep south of Bavaria, but also attracting in a whole lot of people who wouldn't necessarily be going to Germany. Speaking from the British perspective, Germany gets far fewer visitors than it ought to. And what we've been seeing in the past few years, actually particularly this winter, is a lot more interest in heading for the German Christmas markets, and the economic benefits, well, we were hearing there about to France, billions of euro. Same thing in Germany, and individual companies are laying on extra flights to go to various German destinations as well, actually further east, places like Prague to Tallinn in Estonia, because in those locations you might get a little bit more value. But yes, it is central to Germany and central to the whole winter.
Simon, there was one city jumps out with me, Dresden. 2.5 million visitors. They have a Striezel market. 500,000 overnight hotel stays in Dresden purely for the Christmas markets. I mean, these are astonishing numbers.
Oh, they are. And actually, if you go to Nuremberg in Bavaria, north of Munich, I think that is probably the place I have seen the biggest crowds. The turnout is amazing, and special flights going in from the UK to Nuremberg specifically to take people to and from the Christmas market. Yes, it generates vast amount of business at a time, well, frankly, the German tourist industry needs it. And it also, of course, is tremendous fun, which is why we go there. And nobody does a Christmas market quite like the Germans, in my experience.
Thank you, Simon. Oliver, to you, just on that note about the money and the economic impact, it's very, very important that security is taken as seriously as clearly Germany is taking it.
Yeah. But I see all these things a bit different with all the measurements around the markets.
In what way?
Is it really necessary to do all these things? How high is the possibility for a terror attack on a Christmas market?
Well, I think the recent past shows that it has to be taken very, very seriously. But you think the authorities are perhaps overreacting?
Yes, definitely.
Well, let's bring in your compatriot, Walther. What would you say to that overreaction or just being prudent?
No, I think politicians have no choice but to take these precautions, because if anything like last year happens again, I think blame would be loaded upon their shoulders immediately, and this would cause a huge political crisis. So I think it's maybe more about feeling secure, the feeling of the population, seeing that something is being done, or seeing at least that what can be done is done, knowing that there can be no absolute security.
And Walther, just on the issue of the kind of physical barriers to anyone launching a vehicle-borne attack, it's pretty simple stuff, isn't it? Just extra street furniture, bollards, concrete, more kind of policing on the ground. It makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I mean, Christmas markets are just not such low-hanging fruits as they used to be in the past. I mean, by definition, they are huge open areas that were easily accessible, and that were also easily accessible for people to drive through with huge cars or with lorries, as was the case 9 years ago in Berlin. So now there are some physical barriers that make it at least a bit more difficult for such things to happen.
Elaine, it's a shame the world we live in that terrorists seeking to do harm will obviously zone in on big gatherings of people. It's a holiday time. People have switched off. Everyone's in fun mode. But this is where they know that they will get a high concentration of people. And if they do manage to kill or, God forbid, injure and kill people, it creates global headlines.
Absolutely. And just on that point, it isn't just about making people feel safer, but that is important. But part of the impetus for the security alert being raised here in eastern France in particular was that at the end of last month, police found a hidden cache of ammunitions and an automatic weapon hidden in the area that is now the Christmas markets. And they believe that somebody thought they're going to close this off because, of course, since the attack on the Christmas markets in Strasbourg in 2018, security has been heavier there. So they believe someone planted this ahead of time, hoping it wouldn't be found, so they could just walk through the police security line and then pick up the weapon. So they're very concerned that something like that could have been thought of in advance and that they were planning it. So they are very much on the alert for anyone attempting something that could be quite easily put together in advance.
So, Elaine, we've seen reports in the last couple of weeks that France has been ramping up security. Do you think that is intelligence-driven then, off the back of finding that cache of ammunition?
Part of it is, but it's also partly because France is constantly on high alert. And whenever I talk to like the police chiefs or the interior minister, they will admit that they have foiled dozens of potential terror attacks, planned terror attacks in the country through this year. It's a constant target, France is, and it's a high value target. And they know that Christmas markets, as you say, full of people, it's a good target because you have the crowd, but also you have that notion of people enjoying themselves and they get to put a stop to it. And that has been quite a popular tactic by some of the terror groups. Christmas markets, the July 14 celebrations in Nice in 2016, the concert hall in Paris in 2015, and restaurants. It's like we want to hit at your way of life.
Simon, to you, just looking at the growth of Christmas markets, I mean, one of the biggest one in the United Kingdom is in Birmingham, and it is immensely popular. I mean, people on this island just can't get enough of German Christmas markets.
They certainly can't. We actually came to the Christmas market party really quite late on. It was the end of the 20th century. But it became clear that markets in Germany and also in France, and Elaine mentioned Strasbourg, very, very popular one, they were doing fantastically well. So what bluntly happened was that Birmingham in the Midlands called up its sister city of Frankfurt and said, can you come and help us with a Christmas market? And now the Frankfurt Christmas market is the biggest in the UK. You've also got it in tourist cities such as York and Bath, and increasingly here in London. You are seeing Christmas markets springing up in Trafalgar Square on the South Bank, and they seem to be very popular. I think some of the most expensive Christmas markets in Europe. But of course, as we have been discussing, that represents potentially more targets.
And one thing you notice certainly in London is that there's security, but you don't necessarily see it. It's very laissez-faire. They're doing the work behind the scenes, but what the public see is a beautiful tradition, everyone having a nice time, everyone's enjoying themselves, but there's clearly a lot of security going in behind the scenes.
Well, one very much hopes so. And it's actually getting a balance between what could be seen as performative, in that you've got lots of security staff, police clearly on duty, you've got lots of barriers in place, and what is actually happening to ensure that there is no threat that we're unaware of. But of course, as has been said so many times with terrorism, the forces of good, the law, has to get everything right the whole time. The terrorists only need to get lucky once.
Thank you, Simon. Oliver, to you, how do you think German public are feeling this Christmas? Because, you know, Magdeburg was a very large incident last year. There was a lot of negative publicity off the back of it. Do you think some people might think twice about going to a Christmas market this year?
I think no. We had these situations during the last years, and no, I think no. The people feeling safe at Landsat, and that for these guys, this is what they want, and we can prepare the markets in a way that they feeling safe.
And Oliver, just tell us about your company, the kind of work you will be doing the next few weeks. What services do you offer to Christmas markets?
Yeah, we're doing crowd management, so our work is done already. When we start with the market, we have nothing more to do. So we are more in the conceptual thing and not in the operational thing.
And just one final question, Oliver. You know, when you're talking to the management of Christmas markets, how high up the priority list is security for them now?
Very, very high. It's nearly 100%. The police is involved, the authorities are involved, and for sure the security companies are involved as well.
Walther, to you, what's your take on where German people are feeling about attending this Christmas with everything? Because, you know, the coverage of Magdeburg, people were horrified.
Yeah, there were, but I think the feeling now is cautious normality. I think people want their Christmas markets. This is a deeply rooted tradition, as Simon pointed out. People gather there with old friends. It's very common to meet old acquaintances coming back into their hometowns for Christmas. And people want this. And people have the feeling that if we cease going to the Christmas markets, then the terrorists have won, and we are very defined.
Walther, we mentioned the Dresden market earlier on. Their budget for security this Christmas is €2 million. Clearly, it's one of the biggest markets in the whole of Germany. I read there are 3,250 Christmas markets in the whole of Germany. The much smaller ones could never afford to spend a fraction of that money on security, could they?
No, usually they can't. And it's also a question of whether public authorities pay for the security measures. or whether they say that the people running the businesses on the Christmas markets have to pay a fee, have to pay an increased fee to cover the security costs. And if that is the case, of course, things are getting more expensive at the Christmas market. So every mulled wine is €1 or €1.50 more than it used to be. And of course, there's also an affordability thing about the Christmas markets now.
Elaine, give us your view on who pays for security in France. Is it the local authorities and the police, or is it passed on to the consumer eventually?
It's a bit of both, because the Interior Minister runs the police, who will be fitting it into their budgets. The terror budget has gone through the roof in police budgets for the last more than a decade here. So it gets put in it in special budgeting. But of course, in smaller ones where they feel a need for private security, then that gets put directly through the market stall holders onto the consumer. As you said, your mulled wine is suddenly a bit more expensive. But there are lots of small Christmas markets around France too, in little villages. And there it might be that the gendarmes make an extra tour that they might not have done before. But generally the targeted ones would be the big ones. And that is generally in the budget of the local police.
And Elaine, what's the value for money like in France at Christmas at these markets? Because as Simon alluded to, London, Birmingham, you're paying top pound. I was going to say top dollar, but you're paying top prices for stuff that I would imagine in France is a fraction of the cost.
It's all gone up here as well. I feel that since COVID, everything has gone through the roof, and the Christmas markets are no different. One of the big complaints at the bigger Christmas markets now is that they don't have the same level of French crafts or French artisan products, and that there's a lot of imported would-be Christmas stuff, and people are disappointed with that. But there are still a lot of places where you can find something that looks like particularly Eastern France. And then, of course, yes, mulled wine, various food products from around the country. But yeah, your Christmas market shopping is not really the bargain hunting moment. It's much more to spend a convivial time getting into the Christmas spirit.
Thanks, Elaine. Simon, no matter the concerns about security and the inevitable media coverage, people from the UK, from all over Europe and indeed the world, will always want to go to Germany to say they went to a Christmas market.
Oh, I think they will. And I'm hoping what I'm trying to do journalistically is actually steer people towards those smaller places in Germany. Elaine was just mentioning smaller places in France. But for example, I'm a great fan of the Christmas market in a place called Forsheim, which is a small city between Karlsruhe and Stuttgart in southwestern Germany. And they have an absolutely vast Middle Ages, medieval Christmas market, which is tremendous fun, very much just for the local people, for the people of Baden-Württemberg, and that's great fun. And I get very strongly the sense that it is not considered a particular threat. Of course, you never know. And just on the security aspect, what we've been using here at another event, similar crowded event, the Notting Hill Carnival in London, is lots and lots of facial recognition. The police are just checking everybody's facial biometric, comparing it with their files. I think we will see lots more of that, although, of course, your excellent security experts will be way ahead of me.
And Simon, the airlines, they even put on extra flights, don't they, from the UK to certain German cities?
For the airlines, Christmas market season is fantastic because it fills that gap between the end of October and the ski season starting over Christmas. And of course, all the family flying that you've got going on. So if they've got somewhere to put their aircraft in November and early December, they are very happy. Their customers get a good deal, and it's a real growth industry, and long may that continue.
Oliver, this time of year, anyone who still has a little bit of holiday time and wants to go and has curiosity about a German Christmas market, where would you recommend? Which city that we've never heard of before, or which town would you send people towards?
Bremen.
Okay.
Bremen is the number one in the Christmas markets in Germany, definitely.
Why is it so good?
because it took place in the old part from Bremen, was not destroyed during the Second World War. And it's amazing. It's based in an area in between some churches, and it's really, really nice.
Fantastic.
I can recommend it.
Vielen Dank. Walther, to you, same question. Where would you be sending overseas guests to in Germany if they were on the hunt for a very good Christmas market next week or two?
I mean, the largest one with the best gingerbread is in Nuremberg. But if you want to have a true medieval feeling, there are some smaller towns like Rothenburg ob der Tauber, which is a small town in Franconia, which is entirely medieval, has a very medieval core that also hasn't been destroyed during the war, and you get the real old times vibes there.
Amazing. And Elaine, you've worked in France for years and years. Which is your favourite Christmas market?
Well, Strasbourg would be, but for many people who are feeling a little concerned about the security, I would say Colmar, which is also in the east, and it's a beautiful town, and it has a gorgeous old-fashioned Christmas market as well. So that's one to go to.
Elaine, thank you so much. Walther, Oliver and Simon Calder here in the studio. I wish you all a very happy Christmas and a safe and prosperous new year. And remember, you can see more discussion and debate on our YouTube channel. Just search for Roundtable TRT World. But for now, from me, Enda Brady, and all the team here, goodbye and thank you for watching.